Today, though, it is tariffs from China that's in the spotlight. China's 100% tariff on Canadian canola products is now in effect. The tariff covers canola oil and canola meal made in our country. This is Beijing's response to Canada's 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. In addition to canola duties, China has also hit Canada with a 25% tax on seafood exports. It is the latest blow to an industry that's already facing a 25% tariff from the US.
It's going to be difficult to pass these tariffs on to our customers, so there will be negotiations up and down the value chain to see sort of how far we can push them, and that will set the prices this spring.
China and the US, the biggest buyers of Nova Scotia lobster. With these new tariffs in place, exporters say it is crucial now to find new markets. The province is spending $200,000 to help find new ways to expand seafood exports. Well, let's bring in Kyle Larkin, Executive Director of Grain Growers of Canada. Kyle, thanks for joining us. So what are you hearing from your members about how these tariffs, 100% tariffs on canola exports, how much of a blow is that going to be?
Yeah, thanks for having me. 100% tariffs on canola meal, canola oil, and peas is having a devastating impact on the 70,000 grain farmers across Canada. Look, they're already facing major uncertainty from our largest trading partner, which is the United States, and China is our second largest trading partner. So having a trade war on two fronts doesn't work for grain farmers. And I can tell you that commodity prices have already gone down. And so the dollars that farmers are getting for their canola, for their peas, isn't as much as they were just getting 2-3 weeks ago. So we're already seeing an impact on that at a time that farmers' margins are already squeezed pretty tightly.
When you talk about China being the second largest export market after the US, what sort of percentage are we talking of overall exports? What percentage goes to China?
Yeah, great question. So we export over $8 billion excuse me, of grain and grain products to China every year. About 1.7 billion of that is made up of canola meal, canola oil, and peas. So a significant amount, about 25% of our grain products and grain exports to China are being impacted by these 100% tariffs. This is at a time that China still has an anti-dumping investigation ongoing on canola seed, which represents the vast majority of that other 75% of exports to China. So there's a large concern that we're already seeing 100% tariffs, and we may see even more bad news in the upcoming weeks.
What about other markets? Are there opportunities to expand into other markets, or is this just the market in the US and China just too big to find anyone to sort of make up what's being lost there?
Yeah, China's almost too big of a market to replace. The U.S. is for sure too big to replace. There are other markets around the world, such as Japan and Indonesia, that we could ship a little more to. But certainly we don't have market for $1.7 billion of grain and grain products that are being tariffed right now by China. So diversification is a big need in our sector, but market diversification doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately. We have seen growth in certain markets, especially in Asia Pacific. But again, we can't replace the billions of dollars that we export to China, and we certainly can't replace the billions of exports that we put to the United States.
Kyle, what's your message to the government as they possibly try to negotiate some sort of lower tariff, if not taking it off entirely, something that's not 100%?
Yeah, our message is twofold. Number one, the Canadian government needs to engage with their Chinese counterparts as soon as possible and engage with them as often as possible. I know that some Canadian officials have already engaged behind the scenes with their Chinese counterparts, but we certainly need more. This issue needs to be taken seriously, and it needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Number two is the government needs to look at a plan to compensate farmers for this issue. As I said from the top, grain farmers are already losing hundreds of thousands of dollars from commodity prices if they're selling their canola or peas right now. So that's something the government needs to take into account and needs to look to compensate farmers for the trade actions that they took on China that they're responding to.
Kyle Larkin, Executive Director of Grain Growers Canada, thanks so much for making the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.